My heart clenched as I answered the call, hearing the dreadful news about my husband, Mike. The words "falling accident" echoed in my mind like a haunting refrain. Rushing to the hospital, my mind raced with a million questions, each more terrifying than the last. When the doctor told me the surgery was successful, relief washed over me momentarily, only to be replaced by a new wave of worry as he mentioned Mike hadn't regained consciousness. The doctor's words lingered in the air, heavy with uncertainty. He could wake up soon, he said, trying to offer hope, or it might take a year or even 10. My knees buckled beneath me as despair consumed me whole. How could I face the prospect of waiting, not knowing if or when my beloved would awaken? The next day, amidst the haze of anxiety, my nephew Tyler appeared in the hospital room, a familiar face in the midst of chaos. It had been years since I'd seen him, and his presence brought a strange comfort. "Auntie," he began, his voice tinged with solemnity, "Uncle Mike left something with me to give to you a while back." With trembling hands, he handed me a letter, urging me to read it alone in private. Alone at last, I unfolded the letter, my heart pounding in my chest. As I read Mike's words, disbelief washed over me in waves. His confession revealed secrets I never could have imagined, secrets that shook the very foundation of our relationship. To verify his confession, I found myself compelled to undress the unconscious Mike, searching for confirmation of the letter's contents. Unbeknownst to me, Mike's deepest secret had been exposed, leading to an unexpected turn of events. Mike and I had married young, surrounded by our friends, drawn together by a connection that felt unbreakable. In those early days, when our love burned bright and our dreams seemed limitless, we made a pact to support each other's ambitions. I wanted to continue working after marriage, and Mike, ever supportive, agreed without hesitation. As the years passed, our bond only grew stronger, until the desire for children stirred within me. When I shared this longing with Mike, he mirrored my sentiments, eager to embark on the journey of parenthood together. We threw ourselves into the pursuit of starting a family, hopeful for the future that lay ahead. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when we least expect it. The sudden passing of Mike's father, whom we had visited regularly, cast a shadow over our lives. His unexpected death left us reeling, struggling to come to terms with the gaping void he left behind. In our grief, we leaned on each other for support, our shared pain drawing us closer together. My father-in-law had been a pillar of strength for us, offering assistance when we needed it most. In the early days of our marriage, when money was tight, his generosity sustained us. With his help, we were able to build a life together, eventually reaching a point where we could afford to start a family of our own. But as fate would have it, we were unable to repay our debt to him before he chose to move into a facility. His decision to sell the family home and land to fund his stay spoke volumes of his selflessness, even in his final days. Though we offered to live with him, he refused to burden us, opting for a life of solitude in his twilight years. As I reflect on the journey that has brought us to this moment, I can't help but feel a sense of gratitude for the love and support that has carried us through the darkest of times. And though the road ahead may be uncertain, I know that as long as we have each other, we can weather any storm that comes our way. Mike's call to his sister marked the beginning of a new chapter, one fraught with tension and uncertainty. As he relayed the news of our father-in-law's passing and the impending inheritance, I could sense the weight of the conversation pressing down on him. His sister's response was predictably abrasive, her voice carrying through the phone with an intensity that made my skin crawl. Even from a distance, her demanding tone grated on my nerves, a stark reminder of the tumultuous relationship she shared with our family. Despite Mike's attempts to maintain composure, I could hear the frustration mounting in his voice with each passing moment. It was clear that this conversation would not be an easy one, fraught with the potential for conflict and discord. As I listened in, I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread creeping over me. Dealing with Mike's sister had always been a delicate dance, her volatile temperament a constant source of tension within the family. And now, with the inheritance hanging in the balance, the stakes had never been higher. But amidst the chaos of the conversation, a glimmer of hope flickered to life within me. Perhaps, despite our differences, we could find a way to navigate this situation peacefully, to honor my father-in-law's memory without succumbing to the discord that threatened to tear us apart. With bated breath, I awaited the outcome of Mike's conversation, knowing that whatever lay ahead, we would face it together, united in our determination to forge a path forward, no matter the obstacles in our way. As I saw the hospital's name flash across my phone screen, a chill ran down my spine. Despite our pride in our good health, the suddenness of the call filled me with a sense of foreboding. With a quick glance around the bustling office, I stepped into a quiet corner, heart pounding with apprehension. Answering the call, I braced myself for the worst, my mind racing with 1,000 fears. But as the voice on the other end spoke, my anxiety melted away, replaced by confusion and disbelief. It was a nurse from the hospital, calling to inform me that Mike had been admitted after collapsing during his meeting with his sister. The words echoed in my ears, a surreal twist in an already tumultuous tale. Rushing to the hospital, my mind whirled with a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, confusion, and worry battled for dominance as I tried to make sense of the situation. What had caused Mike to collapse? Was he okay? And what about his meeting with his sister? Arriving at the hospital, I was met with a flurry of activity, doctors and nurses rushing to tend to Mike's bedside. As I watched helplessly, my heart ached with a sense of powerlessness, unable to do anything but wait and pray for his recovery. Hours stretched into eternity as I sat by Mike's side, every passing moment filled with uncertainty. And then, finally, a glimmer of hope as he began to stir, consciousness returning like a beacon in the darkness. As he opened his eyes, relief flooded through me, washing away the fear and uncertainty that had gripped my heart. And as he reached out to take my hand, I knew that no matter what lay ahead, we would face it together, united in our love and determination to overcome whatever obstacles life threw our way. The arrival of Mike's sister at the hospital was unexpected, to say the least. As she entered the room, her presence felt like an intrusion, casting a shadow over the fragile peace that had settled around us. Though we exchanged a brief nod of acknowledgement, the air between us crackled with unspoken tension. Inwardly, I couldn't help but wonder what had brought her here. I had informed only a select few relatives and colleagues about Mike's situation, and she wasn't among them. Considering the strained relationships within the family and her contentious history, her sudden appearance seemed out of place. As she stood there, a silent figure in the corner of the room, I found myself grappling with a myriad of emotions. Resentment, confusion, and suspicion warred within me, each vying for dominance as I tried to make sense of her presence. With a deep breath, I finally broke the silence, mustering the courage to voice the question that had been weighing on my mind. "How did you know about this hospital?" I asked, my tone guarded as I watched her closely for any hint of deception. Her response was vague, something about hearing stories of someone spotting a known person at a hospital. But her words did little to assuage my doubts, leaving me with more questions than answers. As the hours passed, Mike's condition remained unchanged, his unconscious form a silent testament to the fragility of life. And amidst the hushed whispers of hospital staff and the steady beep of machines, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. But for now, I pushed aside my suspicions, focusing instead on the task at hand, supporting Mike through his recovery and navigating the uncertain road that lay ahead. Whatever secrets his sister held, they would have to wait, overshadowed by the more pressing concerns of the present moment. As I listened to Mike's sister's callous remarks, a surge of anger rose within me, threatening to boil over. Her insensitivity in the face of Mike's condition was staggering, her focus on her own needs and demands utterly callous. But as much as I wanted to lash out, I knew that doing so would only escalate the situation, potentially causing further distress to Mike. Taking a deep breath, I forced myself to maintain a calm exterior, suppressing the urge to confront her. With a resigned sigh, I reached for my wallet, extracting more money than necessary to cover her expenses. It galled me to give in to her demands, but I knew that preserving peace in the hospital room was paramount. As she left, her heels clicking sharply against the floor, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. But it was short-lived, replaced by a new source of concern as she called a child into the room. My heart sank as I realized it was her son, my nephew, left behind in her wake. As he approached me tentatively, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for the boy caught in the crossfire of his mother's demands. And as he handed me a letter from Mike, a small piece of paper torn from a notebook, my curiosity piqued. Hastily unfolding the letter, I scanned its contents, my heart skipping a beat as I realized its significance. Mike had arranged to meet his sister at a cafe, only for their plans to be disrupted on the day of their meeting. But the letter held more than just logistical details. It was a testament to Mike's foresight, his concern for his nephew's well-being evident in his words. With a heavy heart, I reassured the boy that he had done well, patting his head gently in a gesture of comfort. And as I read Mike's words, a renewed sense of determination filled me. Whatever challenges lay ahead, I would face them head-on, guided by the love and resilience that had brought us this far. As I read through Mike's letter, the pieces of a disturbing puzzle began to fall into place. The events he described painted a chilling picture of manipulation and deceit, with his sister at the center of it all. The revelation of his mysterious injury, inflicted during the disputes over his mother's inheritance, sent a shiver down my spine. Mike's suspicion that his life was in danger seemed more plausible now than ever before. The calculated nature of his sister's actions, from inflicting the injury to involving their nephew in their inheritance discussions, spoke volumes about her ruthlessness. With a heavy heart, I checked Mike's thigh, searching for the evidence of his sister's malicious intent. And there it was, a faint scar, a grim reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows. The sight filled me with a mixture of anger and disbelief, the knowledge that someone could stoop so low for financial gain unfathomable to me. As I carefully redressed Mike's wound, my mind raced with a flurry of thoughts. How had I not seen the signs before? How could I have been so blind to the danger that lurked in our midst? But dwelling on the past would get me nowhere. The priority now was ensuring Mike's safety and uncovering the truth behind his sister's motives. With a sense of urgency, I turned my attention to the inner pocket of Mike's jacket, where he had hinted at further evidence. As I searched through its contents, my heart pounded in anticipation, every rustle of fabric echoing in the silence of the hospital room. And then, my fingers brushed against something, a small, folded piece of paper tucked away amidst the fabric. With trembling hands, I unfolded it, revealing a series of photographs, evidence of his sister's deceit, captured in black and white. As I studied the images, a cold fury settled over me, the truth of Mike's words laid bare before me. His sister's betrayal was undeniable, her actions a stark reminder of the darkness that lurked within the human heart. But amidst the anger and the pain, a steely resolve took hold. We would not let her win. We would fight for justice, for truth, and for the love that bound us together. And as I looked down at Mike's sleeping form, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them together, united in our determination to overcome whatever obstacles stood in our way. As I listened to Mike's sister spin her web of lies, a quiet fury simmered beneath the surface. Her nonchalant demeanor, coupled with her blatant disregard for the truth, only fueled my determination to uncover the full extent of her deceit. With a carefully composed facade, I probed her with questions, each one a calculated attempt to unravel the tangled web of lies she had woven. Memories of Mike and their father, details about her divorce, and the events leading up to Mike's accident, all were fair game as I sought to expose her true intentions. But with each passing question, her irritation grew, her facade cracking under the weight of my scrutiny. Her dismissive remarks only served to fuel my resolve, reminding me of the stakes at hand. This wasn't just about inheritance or family ties, it was about justice, about holding her accountable for her actions. And then, just as I was on the brink of a breakthrough, she pushed me away, her words a sharp reminder of the barriers that divided us. He was my father, she spat, you're just an outsider who married into the family. Her words stung, a bitter reminder of the divisions that had plagued our relationship from the start. But I refused to back down, my resolve steeling in the face of her hostility. Mike's life-threatening accident had drawn me into this tangled web of deceit, and I would not rest until the truth was laid bare. With a steady gaze, I pleaded with her to tell the truth, to set aside her pride and confront the reality of the situation. But deep down, I knew that the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, each one testing the limits of our resolve. Yet despite the obstacles that lay ahead, I remained steadfast in my determination to seek justice for Mike, to uncover the truth that lay hidden beneath the surface. And as I looked into her eyes, I knew that no matter what lies she spun, the truth would always find a way to shine through. As the voice recorder played, the air in the room seemed to grow heavy with tension, every word a damning indictment of Mike's sister's true nature. Her initial denial gave way to shock as the recording unfolded, her carefully constructed facade crumbling before my eyes. The recording began with Mike expressing his concerns about their conversation, his voice tinged with a sense of foreboding. He spoke of his intention to record their discussion as evidence, a precautionary measure born out of desperation. But it was his sister's words that chilled me to the bone. With a cold calculation, she pressured Mike for a larger share of their father's inheritance, her motives laid bare for all to see. She confessed to inflicting the cut on Mike's thigh, a sinister reminder of the lengths she would go to in pursuit of her goals. Her words dripped with malice as she gloated about her capabilities, her threats a stark reminder of the danger that lurked in the shadows. And as Mike tried to steer the conversation away, suggesting a change of location, her demeanor shifted once again, her true colors shining through. In that moment of clarity, Mike made a split-second decision, entrusting a letter to his nephew in the hope that I would find it. And as he treated his sister to lunch, his actions belied the danger that lurked beneath the surface, his calm facade belying the turmoil that raged within. But it was during their walk home that the situation took a turn for the worse. As his sister's shouts echoed through the street, Mike remained resolute, his determination to seek justice unwavering. And then, in the chaos that followed, the recording abruptly stopped, leaving us with more questions than answers. As I listened to the final moments of the recording, a sense of unease settled over me, the realization sinking in that Mike's life was in grave danger. But amidst the uncertainty and fear, one thing remained clear: we would stop at nothing to uncover the truth, to hold his sister accountable for her actions, and to ensure that justice prevailed, no matter the cost. The arrival of the police marked a turning point in the room, their presence a stark reminder of the gravity of the situation. As the detectives revealed themselves, the sister-in-law's facade of confidence crumbled, replaced by a palpable sense of fear. With nowhere to run and the truth closing in around her, she frantically searched for an escape route, her desperate attempts to evade responsibility falling on deaf ears. And as the detectives moved in to question her, her feeble excuses were met with a dismissive wave, their focus unwavering in the face of her flimsy attempts at denial. With each passing moment, the reality of her actions began to sink in, the weight of her deceit bearing down on her with each step closer to justice. And as the police led her away, her once defiant demeanor gave way to a sense of resignation, the consequences of her actions finally catching up to her. As the room fell silent once more, a sense of relief washed over me, the knowledge that justice had been served, bringing a measure of closure to the chaos that had engulfed us. And as I handed over the voice recorder to the lead investigator, a sense of gratitude welled up within me, thankful for the swift action of the authorities in bringing the truth to light. But amidst the turmoil and uncertainty, one thing remained certain: we would stand united in the face of adversity, our bond stronger than ever as we navigated the challenges that lay ahead. And as I looked down at Mike's sleeping form, a sense of hope flickered in the darkness, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there was always light to be found. Mike's unwavering commitment to his nephew's well-being was evident in every word of the letter he had left behind. As I listened to the heartbreaking truth revealed within its pages, I couldn't help but marvel at Mike's selflessness, his determination to rescue his nephew from the clutches of his cruel mother shining through with unwavering clarity. The sister-in-law's true nature had been laid bare, her callous indifference towards her own son a stark contrast to the love and devotion he deserved. And as I watched the former brother-in-law embrace his son with a fierce determination, I knew that we had a long road ahead in ensuring the boy's safety and happiness. Despite the challenges that lay ahead, I felt a renewed sense of purpose coursing through my veins, a determination to stand by Mike's side in the fight for justice and the protection of his nephew. And as I reflected on the sacrifices he had made, I knew that there was no greater legacy than the love and compassion he had shown towards his family. In The inheritance seemed insignificant in comparison to the bond that held us together, a bond forged in love, strengthened by adversity, and unbreakable in the face of whatever challenges the future may hold. And as I looked towards the uncertain path ahead, I knew that with Mike by my side, we would face whatever came our way with unwavering resolve and unwavering determination. In desperate attempts to reason with her, she remained fixated on her delusions, refusing to accept responsibility for her actions. Her outburst only served to solidify the evidence against her, further incriminating herself in the eyes of the authorities. As the confrontation unfolded, I couldn't help but feel a sense of disbelief at the lengths she was willing to go to avoid facing the consequences of her deeds. Her attempt to shift blame onto others only showcased the depths of her depravity and the extent of her manipulation. Throughout the ordeal, the nephew remained stoic, his eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and determination. Despite the chaos unfolding around him, he stood firm, a symbol of resilience in the face of adversity. And as I watched him bravely recount the events leading up to his father's fall, I felt a surge of pride in his courage and strength. In that moment, it became clear that our priority was not just securing justice for Mike, but also ensuring the safety and well-being of his nephew. And as we continued to navigate the complex legal proceedings ahead, I knew that we would do whatever it took to protect him from further harm. In the end, while the road ahead may be fraught with challenges, I was reassured by the knowledge that we were not alone in our fight for justice. Together, we would stand united against the forces of injustice, determined to seek truth and accountability in the face of adversity. And as we embarked on this journey, I held on to the hope that justice would prevail, bringing closure to a chapter marred by deceit and betrayal. She had nothing to offer, claiming she was penniless and devoid of any valuable assets. Her extravagant lifestyle, it seemed, was built on a foundation of deception and deceit, with even her prized possessions turning out to be mere imitations. Despite her lack of remorse or accountability, justice prevailed as she was held accountable for her actions. With concrete evidence against her, there was little she could do to evade the consequences of her deeds. And as she faced the full force of the law, I couldn't help but feel a sense of closure knowing that she would no longer pose a threat to others. As for Mike, his road to recovery was just beginning. While the physical wounds would heal with time, the emotional scars left by his sister's betrayal would undoubtedly linger. Yet, with the support of his loved ones and the knowledge that justice had been served, I was confident that he would find the strength to overcome this ordeal. And as we looked towards the future, I was filled with hope knowing that our family had emerged stronger from the challenges we had faced. Together, we would rebuild and move forward, leaving behind the shadows of the past and embracing the promise of tomorrow. Mike's proposal to split his father's inheritance equally was a testament to his fairness and generosity, despite the tumultuous events surrounding it. Although the bulk of the inheritance went towards Mike's medical expenses and legal fees, a portion still ended up with his sister-in-law. However, even that amount was swiftly depleted by her legal troubles, exacerbated by her impulsive decisions to hire and fire lawyers, leaving her with little to show for her actions. Meanwhile, with the custody battle resolved, the nephew began to thrive under the care of my ex-brother-in-law, supported by his grandparents. The stability and love he received allowed him to recover both physically and emotionally from the trauma inflicted by his mother. His newfound happiness in a nurturing environment signaled a fresh start for him, free from the shadows of his past. As for Mike and me, our journey took an unexpected turn with the news of my pregnancy. Despite the challenges we had faced, we embraced this new chapter with hope and optimism. We vowed to use the lessons learned from Mike's sister's actions to instill values of kindness and empathy in our child, ensuring that they would grow up to spread joy and compassion in the world. With our family expanding and our hearts filled with love, we embarked on the next phase of our lives, believing that our happiness was just beginning.